Imagine you cannot put any extra fuel in the fuel tank of your truck. No fuel from the fuel station or the roof rack, trailers, or any type of add-ons. Just the fuel in the fuel tank of your truck. Now, can you complete a whole region like that? To answer that question, I started my journey in Scandinavia. Why in Scandinavia? Because I love this region. And these are the rules of this challenge. So obviously, I cannot refuel my truck from any source, not even from the fuel tank of another truck. I cannot have any duplicate vehicles, so only one vehicle from each model, and I cannot recover or get in the garage with any of my vehicles. So once that truck is out of the garage, it cannot go back. Now the good news is I have many trucks and a couple of strategies that can help me complete this challenge. Now, my goal at first was to complete as many contracts as possible to see if this challenge is even possible. Of course, I'm going to complete some of the tasks like roadblocks or fixing a bridge, but mostly I'm going to focus on the contracts. And I do want to know, how much fuel do I even need for completing a region in this game? At this point, I had already started the first step of completing this region, scouting the map. The only difference is, instead of using a very good scout, I'm using some of the worst. Some vehicles that I normally do not use because I don't want to use the fuel of my good trucks for easy things. I scouted a big part of the map and activated some of the tasks. And it was time to complete my first task of this challenge, the power generator task, and I was using the Zix 566A for this task. Once I completed that task, I had a generator over there to craft some metal beams. I needed the metal beams for fixing the bridge. For getting the metal beams to that bridge, I used an Catra 1160. Not the most amazing vehicle to use in this situation, but I don't want to waste my good trucks for tasks like this. I delivered the metal beams and now all I needed was concrete blocks. When I got to the place for picking up the concrete blocks, this place had some limited number of different cargos. So I came up with this idea. I'm gonna carry as many cargo that I can with the Ancatra and deliver them to the place where I craft metal beams. So now in the future, if I need this type of cargo, I don't need to drive to this location. I can get them from where I get the metal beams, which is way closer to the garage. And in this way, I'm going to save more fuel. After I did that, I fixed the bridge and it was time to do something that is going to help me for the rest of my challenge. Having enough material for crafting wooden planks. For that, I used the Paystar 5600 TS. I overloaded as many short logs as I could and spent a good time delivering them all. After that, the Paystar did not have much fuel left, but I used it to get the generator to this area. I was maybe about 50 or 100 meters away where this generator should have been, and I ran out of fuel. For the last few meters of this, I had to bring another truck and I brought the TUZ Actaeon. Using this truck, I put the generator where it should go. For the next mission, I used the forklift. So many people say this vehicle is actually incredibly capable, and it was time to test it. I used the forklift to get the service trailer to the eastern warehouse. And this forklift completely surprised me. Dude, this forklift is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's so capable. And it does a great job pulling this trailer. Most of the scouts, doesn't matter you can attach a trailer to them or not. If you try to pull a trailer by your winch or just the normal way, they cannot do it. But look at this thing. This thing is genuinely very capable. After I successfully delivered the trailer with that forklift, for the next stage, I used the Ancatra with that trailer to get the metal rolls and metal beams. At this point, Ancatra was pretty much out of fuel. For getting rid of some of the roadblocks, I needed a lot of wooden planks. So the Derry Longhorn plus a 6-lot trailer helped me delivering all those wooden planks and getting rid of the roadblocks. Now that the roadblock was gone, I could continue driving my Land Rover 110 and getting to the other map. I scouted some parts of the main road of the second map, but I went back to the first map to deliver a trailer with the step crocodile to complete a mission. After that, it was time to use one of the good trucks, the Voron AE. I overloaded some consumables and I started delivering them to the delivery locations. But when I was completing this mission, I saw a contest and I could easily deliver the last consumable while I was doing the contest. In this case, I could save so much fuel, and that was what I did. I completed the contest and that mission at the same time. Now that I had to complete the bigger contracts, I had to use the better trucks. So the next truck I was using was Azov 73210. I got to the warehouse, attached the trailer that was attached to the Ancatra, loaded 4 concrete slabs, and I went to pick up the metal rolls. Because you know how it is. You have to do everything in one go. So now the Azov 73210 is delivering 4 metal rolls and concrete slabs. And Azov 73210 can literally do anything you want. So something like this is nothing for Azov 73210. After that, it was time to build one of the watchtowers in this map, and I went back to using the Derry Longhorn. I haven't really used this truck in a long time. It's way better than I remember. I don't know why. It's just way more capable. Things that this truck is doing right now is pretty impressive. But the turning radius of this truck is awful. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Every corner, if you want to go around it, you have to back up at least once. You see, look at this. Titanic has an easier job going around these corners. At this point, the Derry Longhorn was pretty much out of fuel. After completing a mission with the Con Marshal, I went to build the other watchtower. I used the GMC Brigadier for the short logs, and I made the mistake of using the step crocodile for the consumables. Before I could get to the destination, the step crocodile was out of fuel. But there is one truck that can do literally everything, right? The Azov 73210 was nearby and it saved the day. Now it was time for one of the bigger contracts in this region. 4 metal beams, 2 metal rolls, 2 wooden planks, and 2 cabins. Delivering all of them to the upper ski station. For a big contract, you need a big truck, and I used the Plat 450. Phenomenal truck, but there was a problem. You know, when you start doing challenges like this, you genuinely realize how fuel thirsty every single truck in this game is. I delivered some wooden planks and metal rolls, that's it. And I came back for metal beams, and now I don't even know I can actually deliver these or not. And I'm down to 34 liters of fuel. The fuel tank wasn't as big as the truck. A few meters away from the destination, Plat 450 was out of fuel. Now I had to bring another truck to get the metal beams to their destination. But this wasn't actually that bad, because I needed to use a truck for the cabins and delivering the cabins to this ski station. I delivered the cabins with the Tega 6436 and then went back to the Plat 450 to deliver the metal beams. Unfortunately, the Tega is out of fuel too. Getting up this mountain is killing my trucks right now because I cannot drive fast in this area and it makes me burn a lot of fuel for getting up here. That's why for the next mission, I used a fuel-efficient and capable truck, the DAN. Once I completed the first stage of that mission, for the next stage, I used the last bit of fuel in the GMC Brigadier to complete that contract. At this point, the GMC Brigadier was also out of fuel. But do you know which truck wasn't fully out? The Azov 73210. And I used this truck for the next mission. With only 27 liters of fuel remaining in that fuel tank, Azov 73210 is now out. Now back to the DAN, delivering a curtain-side trailer, driving past the dead Platform 50 and completing one more mission. At this point, it was time to get to the other map. Using Vorongrad and the Tatra Force, I wanted to fix the southern bridge in this map. Now, why I used another truck instead of a trailer? In this case, I can get two trucks in this map, but only one of them is going to burn fuel. On this whole trip, which I'm going to drive on nice roads, the engine of the Tatra Force is off, so that truck is not going to burn any fuel. So once I need the Tatra Force in this map, I have a truck with a full fuel tank. The bridge was fixed and it was time to start one of my, or maybe my favorite set of contracts in the entire game, the Movie Star contracts. So for the Movie Star semi-trailer, I have to take this thing into different locations, and I do want to use one truck for this entire thing. Having that in mind, I chose a very fuel-efficient truck, the Azov 64131. But in order to save even more fuel for this truck and traveling faster, I used another truck to tow the Azov 64131. Keep in mind, the truck that you are towing, put the gear in neutral and you have a way easier time towing very slow trucks like this Azov truck on nice roads. If you don't put the gear in neutral, a slow truck like Azov 64131 will slow you down. At first, I used the white Western Star to get the Azov to the second map, because after that I could use the white Western Star for other missions in that map. But once I came back to the first map, I was like, I'm gonna use a highway truck for towing the Azov 64131. They are fast, fuel efficient, and their performance on tarmac is pretty good. And Mack Terra Pro was the truck I started to use. And it was such a good thing to do. Now the contract was over, and still Azov 64131 has more than 300 liters of fuel. For the next contract, I used another highway truck, since it was a pretty easy contract. Back to Voron AE and Mack Terra Pro. I used these two trucks for the next contract to deliver metal beams and wooden planks. And I do want to mention, Mack Terra Pro has been doing phenomenal right now. After that, it was time to go back to Azov 64131 and get that Movie Star semi-trailer to the mountain movie set. Once that contract was completed, I still had more than 250 liters of fuel in the Azov. Now it was time for one of the more difficult contracts in this region. The name of the contract was Mountain Movie Set, and to save the fuel of the truck I'm going to use to pull the trailer, I towed this truck with the Kenworth W990 to where the white flatbed semi-trailer was. I did this whole thing to save fuel. To ruin everything I did so far, instead of turning left, I turned right, and I completely forgot that this plane is way too wide for this bridge. Oh no, oh no. Wait, we can't go this way? That is so unfortunate. Wait, I thought the plane is going to clip through that part of the bridge. At this point, I had one option. Restart this contract. I restarted the contract, attached the trailer to my truck, and this time I turned left. But there are two things I'm worried about. First, I wasted my fuel. Second, my suspension is pretty much dead. After driving very carefully, I got to the first map, and in that town where the town movie set is, I fixed my truck. After that, I continued going up the mountain. Going up the mountain with this plane was pretty difficult since this plane was getting stuck on different trees all the time. And because of that, I ran out of fuel. This was very unfortunate because I was very close to my destination and I had to burn the fuel of another truck for this contract. With the help of Colab, I delivered the plane and this contract was over. So now it was time to get that movie star trailer to the second map. For the dirt roads of this trip, I used the Azov 64131. But when I got to the asphalt, I used Mac Terra Pro for towing Azov 64131 to save fuel. And because of that, I completed this contract and I still have more than 180 liters of fuel in my Azov. Back to the Voron Grad. Even though I couldn't pack the rail sections on my Voron Grad, I actually didn't even need to do it. This is one of the few contracts that you actually do not need to pack the cargo on your truck in order to deliver it. You just need to put the cargo on the designated area and then deliver it that way. And my Voron Grad had the crane for doing that. So this contract was over too. At this point, I have completed 38% of Scandinavia. There are still many missions to complete, but thankfully, most of them are tasks, and tasks are easier to complete. At this point, I couldn't continue completing the movie star contracts, so I completely stopped completing the contracts and I switched to tasks. I started completing tasks, contests, unlocking watchtowers or upgrades, and completing the easier contracts. So at this point, before I could go back to completing contracts, so many of my trucks were out of fuel. And right now I have completed 86% of Scandinavia. And it was time to get back to completing contracts. The first two contracts I wanted to complete at this point was cabins in the woods and cabins in the mountains. For these two contracts, I needed a bunch of wooden planks, medium planks, logs, and consumables. And finally, I started using some of my bigger trucks. The Kenworth 963 was one of them. I overloaded some wooden planks, delivered some wooden planks, but I couldn't complete the first stage without the consumables. Western Star 49X was the truck that brought the consumables plus short logs. The short logs was for the second stage with 3 wooden planks. Now it was time for the cabins in the mountains. I delivered 3 wooden planks with the Kenworth 963 and this truck still had more than 240 liters of fuel. Then it was time for some medium logs and cement and medium planks for the next stage. I had to use the other Derry Longhorn in order to craft some medium planks for these contracts. After everything was ready to go, Kenworth C500 brought the cement and the medium planks to the northern mountain cabin. And just like that, the Kenworth C500 is out of fuel and this contract is over. Now it was time to get up that mountain one last time. I needed 4 cable cars and I exactly knew how I'm going to complete this contract. The Kenworth T880 was already in the second map near where I could get the cable cars. I put 2 cable cars on my truck and I brought them to the garage where my FEM 3780 was waiting. I did the exact same thing another time and now FEM 3780 is ready to take these 4 cable cars up the mountain. And by the way, I do want to mention one thing. Kenworth T880 is the MVP of this challenge. It helped me so much in this challenge. And genuinely, I did not expect that. Anyway, I delivered the cable cars and I still had about half a fuel tank of fuel in the FEM 3780. Now, since at this point, most of the trucks that I have around the map are out of fuel, I used the Mack Pinnacle and Kenworth T880 to complete the next contract. In this case, I can travel more with these two trucks. But I wasn't done with the Kenworth T880. Now it was time for this truck to tow the Azov 64131 to the ship movie set. The contracts about that movie star semi-trailer is over, and Azov 64131 still has more than 170 liters of fuel left. For completing the last couple of contracts, I used the Western Star Twin Steer Cat City 681, the white Western Star, and the Tatra Phoenix. At this point, there was only one contract left to complete. Since the cargoes I needed to deliver were basically next to my FEM 3780, I used this truck for completing the last contract. Although I'm gonna mention Tega 64362 because I used the crane of that truck to put the cargo on FEM 3780. And when I got to the second map, to guarantee I'm going to make it, I used Mack Pinnacle to tow FEM 3780. Anyway, with the help of all these trucks, I managed to complete Scandinavia without refueling at all. Just the fuel in the fuel tank of my trucks. Now, in case you are wondering how much fuel I used to complete this region. Well, for completing a region like Scandinavia and for completing this challenge, I used 8,441 liters of fuel. And that's it for today's video. I see you in the next one.